Welcome to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Duffy. Dental Entrepreneur Women is here to dive deep and share stories with the mission to inspire, highlight, empower, and connect all women in dentistry.
Hi, everyone. It's Duffy, and welcome to Dental Entrepreneur Women's podcast, Just Do It. I have a very special guest for you today, and I'm so happy you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about her before we get started. Donna Kendrick is the owner and founder of Sephton Financial, where she provides financial planning for families in transition, widowhood, divorce, and blended families. I met Donna, a year and a half ago in Chicago, and here we are today. Donna, welcome.
Oh, Ann, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm excited to spend some time with you.
I am too. And not only did we meet in person, but I've been recommended to you by other women in our organization. So you obviously are doing something right. Your reputation precedes you, and we're really happy to have you. Knowing you just a little bit and your story, I am so curious about your entrepreneurial journey. Our members, it turns out we've acquired so many women that are starting their entrepreneurial journey. So tell us a little bit about how you got started and walk us through that amazing journey that you were in and still doing right now.
Oh, thank you so much. So yeah, a little bit of a background for the listeners. I am from Philadelphia. So if I say words without the G on the end, so sorry, it's just what we do. And I talk fast. So here we go. But no, so married my husband, born and raised, both of us in Philadelphia, PA, followed our careers. We were what we called yuppies in the 80s, and then gave up my career to follow him abroad. He was working for Homeland Security at that time, and he was given a position in the embassy in Rome. So wonderful position, great for his career. We had 3 little kids at the time. And we started living what felt like a military life. So we did like 5 years straight over in Rome, which was beautiful, came back stateside, and then came back to the Philadelphia area in 2013. And then he passed away suddenly. And my kids were 8, 11, and 12. I was making $17,000 a year, working part-time in their school. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? How's this going to work? Spent the first 2 years kind of letting the dust settle, making sure my kids were good in school. We just moved to the area. They were speaking English in school. And I had the help of a financial advisor back then who really helped me slow my roll, helped me identify what my priorities were, what my financial snapshot looked like, and then what path I had for the future. Because truly, whatever I wanted for my goals, 2 weeks after Greg passed is when I sat with my financial advisor. The goals felt very different. They felt different 3 months later, 6 months later, a year later. So 2 years later, when I knew the kids were going to be okay and we had the finances set, I knew I could keep my house, and I knew I had a little bit of money saved to help cover the everyday bills if I wanted to pivot my career or go back to my old career, which was financial forecasting and pharmaceutical industry. And I went to my financial advisor and said, I want to do what you did for me, for other people. How do I do that? And he pretty much created an outline. What education do I need? How do I do it? And I worked under his umbrella for a few years, probably about 3 years. And then in 2020, the pandemic hit, right? And here comes the calling that so many of us had. And I was like, oh, I really need to niche this market. I really want to serve these families in transitions exclusively. Pivoted and founded my own practice. So Sephton is my maiden name. That's Sephton Financial. And that is when the journey of entrepreneurship came on. Because when I was working under someone else's umbrella, I didn't know how to set up a website. I didn't know how to balance my books. I knew how to be a financial planner by then. I had a great mentor. I didn't know how to run a business. And so that's where I leave you for the beginning of my entrepreneurial story.
Wow. Talk about being thrown in the lion's den, trying to navigate your own grief and then taking care of those 3 beautiful children in pivotal points of their childhood, right?
Yeah.
I'm enamored with the fact that you put them first and gave yourself the gift of healing so that you could actually open up and see, what is it that I feel called to do or feel like I want to do?
That was so big because I always say, life gave me lemons right then. When you look back on it, you're like, hey, it's just a pivotal blessing. Mm-hmm. But then I felt like there were lemons and I just needed to make some lemonade. I needed to do something of value. I needed to turn that situation into the gold it is.
the gentleman that hired you and mentored you, in our language, is a dude, a man that is supporting a woman in their job career. We say supporting a woman in dentistry. That was a blessing for you, but you actually soaked it all in. You could have put your head in the sand or gone back to teaching or tried to make another path. I like that you actually went into something that you already knew a little bit about and you were passionate about. When you said your calling, did you quit and start your own? Was that how that happened?
Sure, how it kind of works when you're a financial advisor. So I say I worked under his umbrella. So I was a financial advisor working independently. So I still was my own person, right? I wasn't an S corp, but all of my profit ran through me. And I was able to pretty much work under him for mentorship. So I am a CFP, a certified financial planner. To be a certified financial planner, you need to have X number of years experience or work 2 years exclusively in mentorship, which is exactly what I did.
Okay.
And that's what he provided for me was that. So at the end of 3 years, it was a point of, do I want to stay under his umbrella, or we call it hang my own shingle? So me and my clients just literally shift from under his company over to my company and continued servicing my existing clients as is, and then was able to rebrand, remarket, set my own website, bring my own social media out there, and became an S Corp so that everything ran strictly under me and my practice. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I have a question because we have this happen in dentistry. Donna, tell me, was he okay with that? How was the departure? Was he fine? Because there's so many non-competes now that I just wondered how that works. It sounds like a natural progression.
Yeah, we had a contract together for 3 years. So that contract had expired. And so the opportunity to shift happened. And he knew at that point in time, all right, so now we're going to go personal. At that point in time, 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, my current husband, Jim now, and I blended families. We weren't married at that time, but we moved under one roof. So I have 3 kids, 3 older. He's a little younger. He has 3 kids on his side. So 2 weeks before the pandemic, we start living together. All of a sudden, we have 6 kids under one roof. And so when the pandemic hit, all of a sudden, my 2 big kids came back from college. His 3 kids are there, like picked them up from school the day they shut it down. And we're all trying to live life together, everyone virtual, everyone at home. That was really the catalyst for me to say, I got to do something different. I always knew I wanted to niche my market, that I wanted to serve just a very specific class of people. But that push, that wait a second, it was 45 minutes to an hour away. I would commute every day to the office when it opened back up. I wanted to be close to home. So I literally, when I made this pivot, it was, I need to be able to serve my kids. We don't know how long this pandemic is going to last. And so I got a small office space, walkable to my house, and I would run home on lunches to make sure the kids were okay. I was using my own internet stream. Ours was really slow at home. I was plucking whatever kids weren't cooperating out to come to my office to do their school. But those are the pivotal moments, right? And that is really the catalyst for me saying, I can't do this, right? I need to have my own schedule. I need to be able to serve my kids as well as my passion for this business. 2020 changed many of us to say, I'm not going to do it the traditional old way. I'm going to give it a try, a different way. And we are now married, and we do have all 6 kids full-time under one roof. They go from 14 to 22. So to have that catalyst of my kids don't know the difference between me not being a business owner and being a mom. And that's why I love entrepreneurship, because I get to set that balance and I get to share that balance with my clients so they're aware. So they know that when they support my business, they're supporting these 6 beautiful kids.
Oh my gosh, there's so much meaning behind all of that. And the other thing that struck me is like you finally get to have something that's all yours, your brand, your culture. And the little bit that I knew before we got on these phone calls, Catherine Eitel had introduced me and recommended you to me, was that you really specifically wanted to lead with love. That was something that separated you from the traditional financial planning to the financial planning company that you've built on love. Tell me, where did that come from and why?
I'll give statistics out there. So when I entered the industry for CFPs, 10% were women. We have increased that since then. And I don't believe that it's a male-dominated industry that women can't break into. We can, and we can create as successful businesses as our male counterparts. I think it's an opportunity that we need to provide to younger women to know that this is a beautiful career, takes time, takes effort, but you can balance family and life. And if you get in early and you get the right mentorship, wow, you can really fly. So I think that's a lot of what we need to do for education to bring women into this industry, because it is a traditional industry of men. Remember the movie Wolf of Wall Street? That is it is not what my feeling about this industry is, but there are a lot of those feelings out there. And so there's a lot of intimidation for women who are on their own making financial decisions to seek out the help of a financial advisor. They think it is Wolf of Wall Street out there. When you're actually projecting yourself out there, I do a lot of education between my social media, through the books that I write. I just want people to have a little bit of power and education to make the right decision.
Women can be successful. They just have to get the right mentorship and the right education. Because we have a lot of women in dentistry that would like to go down this route. So what do you have to have from an education standpoint before you start into the financial certifications?
Sure. So you're talking about specifically my industry?
Can you go from high school to get the CFP it's called?
Well, that was exactly when I sat with my financial advisor and was like, I want to do what you do, but for families in transition. And the roadmap he gave me was the roadmap of what educational pieces do you need? Things have changed since back then, even then. So you would need what would be called an SIE. That's the first test that you want to study for. We call it sponsorship. You don't have to be sponsored by a broker dealer or a different financial industry. Because remember, you're coming in with no book of business, no clients, and pretty much probably no experience, right? So you need someone to agree to mentor you, to help you with the systems until maybe your business gets to a certain number, right? A certain profitability. So you take the SIE, you don't need sponsorship for that. And that's a great place to start. That could probably be like a week intensive class online. And if you're a good study bug, you can test the very next week.
So let me ask you this. Your college education was in finance.
Yeah, my college education was in business statistics.
What if you're a hygienist? You've got your degree, but you decide you want to do this. Can you go right into studying for this and then becoming a financial? Okay, that's what I was going with.
There's other parts that you do need to have a college education for. So I always say, go on the SEC website, the FINRA website, and see what do you need. So you would need the SIE. You need a Series 7, which is a longer study session. For that, many of times you need your license in health and life insurance. Sometimes, if you want to be a CFP, it changes things. Then you need, it's either called Series 63, 65, 66, and it's almost like a securities licensing test. So very heavy in what you would need. And each of those tests can say, high school education can take this. College education can take this.
Okay, that's what I was curious about.
Exactly.
Okay.
With the CFP, you need to have the college education.
Okay.
So once you have that college education, once you have that mentorship, once you have that experience, you need to study for a very long test. It's a good 8-hour one. Like you are fried at the end of it, I will say. And I would say I took about 3 months, quote unquote, out of my life to sit and study for that. No social life. Maybe I just needed some more time, but no weekends out, listening to tapes while I fell asleep at night, just trying to get it all done. But I think a lot of that is because I tested for the CFP with only 2 years of experience. So I was missing a lot of that lifetime of experience. So I had to study a little more to get that. I actually took a 9-month course about being a CFP before I even decided to switch my career.
Wow.
Because I knew that that was the designation I wanted. I knew I had to put certain things like the mentorship in place. I knew I had to have a sponsor for my Series 7 and for my CFP, right? So I needed to align myself with the broker dealer. How was I going to do that? That was a role that my mentor, my old advisor, helped me with. But I did that 9-month course on my own, out of my own pocket, time away from my kids to study at night while they were sleeping. Not time away from them, time away from sleep. But I did that to make sure if I was pivoting my career, it's exactly what I wanted to do. And I felt like that 9-month course would tell me, is this or is it not? And I was fine with putting 9 months into that course and saying, 8 for me. It was like that aha moment, like this works.
That was very helpful. And I love that because I'm sure in the course of taking that course, you found out that you were good at it, that you were understanding it, and you were always looking for more information instead of just like dreading everything, right? That's so important because you land in a career that you like and you're good at, and you can make a lovely living on, plus have the balance because you own your own business. You're in the money business. So most of our audience are entrepreneurial in some measure. As you and I both know, women are entrepreneurial anyway, because we spin a lot of plates. I swear that we can do that. And that's the epitome of a entrepreneur is you find a problem and you got to solve it. And you figure out a way to do it, no matter how many plates you're spinning at one time. So what are some of the best money tips for entrepreneurs as they create their business?
I'll give you 3. How's that?
Okay.
The first one is cash reserve. I always say, for even when I do financial planning for my clients, if it's a couple that has 2 streams of income, 3 months of what it costs you to be you, not your lifestyle, what it costs you to cover your mortgage, cover your bills, not go into credit cards, have that put aside. If it's someone like myself, widowhood, or someone who only has 1 income coming in, have 6 months of that. And why do I always say for the cash reserve? Because I always feel, especially women, because we are balancing so many plates, right? And we have, I call it shifts of responsibility between our business, between our kids, between our house, our mortgage, like all of that. And we're constantly thinking about them, they all intertwine. When we have that little nest egg, that rainy day fund, we are more apt to take a risk with our business or take an opportunity, I shouldn't say risk, make an opportunity for our business. Might be a little bit of setback financially because we know we have that covered. So by having the cash reserve, I think it gives us the freedom to say yes. For our business, when you're first setting off, what do you think it's going to cost you to run your website or maybe have a media person, website creator? What does it cost you for the rent of your office space if that's what you're doing? So many virtual offices that are impressive, maybe a shared conference room space. What will it cost you for your licensing? Look at that bare number. If you have staff, multiply that times 3 at least and have that aside. So again, if it's a quote unquote down month or the pandemic hits again and everything kind of shuts down, you can keep your business running. And I know that's a hard number when you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, but if you can have the patience and the diligence and the discipline to save that number before you even launch the company, that's a great foundation.
Okay.
Second tip, know your cash flow. I tend to, in the past, I call it ostrich things, stick my head in the ground. The world is spinning around me, but I'm okay. I'm not paying attention. And because I had that 3-month of cash reserve, I didn't have to pay too much attention. Well, that was a mistake. If you're not willing to do it, I love the book Who Not How by Daniel Sullivan. Find someone who can do it for you. Find a bookkeeper, right? Someone who's just going to keep you accountable once a month for where the cash flow is. Maybe you're taking too many clients out to eat and the budget's too tight, the spend. I don't like the word budget, I like the word spend. And then my third part is always put 10% aside to develop yourself as an entrepreneur. The best investments I've ever made is for business coaching, because I know what I'm doing after all this time in financial planning. It's a thrill. It's a drive. I seek that education. I need the education to be ethically compliant with my CFP. But for the business side, I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know what an S Corp was. I didn't know what I had to pay or sign up for insurance legally in my township. I had no clue, right? And to find a business coach for those systems, to how to bring on team, money so well spent. I have increased my business significantly every year. I've had a business coach on my side.
Wow. That is so powerful, isn't it? And it's a leap because a lot of times we think we can do it on our own. And it's just like any other coach that we have. We're always going to be better if we're coachable and we can find that person that is willing to be that person for us to coach us up. So how'd you find your first business coach?
Social media.
Social media.
I started following other advisors that I have found to be very impressive.
Okay.
And then I found who they were following. And you can see who's commenting maybe with the same coach. And I'm like, ooh, each of these female advisors have one common theme. They all follow this person. Let me follow. And then I learned that either they were graduates of her program and onto a different business coach, or they were part of it. And so right then and there, it was almost an easy decision. It's amazing how, I will just say for ladies in general, we will help one another in the industry. I have reached out to some people privately on Messenger being like, hey, I see that you graduated from so-and-so's business coaching program. It's made specifically for female financial advisors making under blank amount. Is that true? Will this help me? And they'll call. Like they don't know you from anyone, but they'll share a phone call. Don't be afraid to reach out. The most someone will say was no or ignore your message. You didn't lose anything.
Right.
Reach out. And so that's how I found them first. Yep. Finding and following people that I respected in the industry and just seeing who was in their wheelhouse.
That's so wise. And it's so easy. And it is so female because we do love communities. We do love sharing. We love helping each other. We always say, if you get stuck, you have a question or a problem, call a do. And this is very smart also on your part, Donna, is you called somebody in your career lane, in your peer group. And that will also lead to people referring you. This isn't a right fit for me. Well, I just know Donna from this group, and I think she would be a good fit for you. You know what I mean? It's the referral base. Women love referring to each other. And that's the best kind of marketing you can ever gain, I think.
100%.
So very smart on your part. What's been the best resource then for you? Because that sounds like coaching and you're a learner. And I know you from another coaching program. What's been the best resource to expand your business?
Okay, I'm going to get a little woo here.
Okay.
So, and I don't often share the woo of my life. Recently, God, after I call it like the hard years of being in that widowhood, raising the kids, checkbox, hope they're good, gave them the moral foundation, keep nurturing them the whole way through, blending our families, getting this business set. I really had to say, like, what's going to continue to drive me here, right? And so I really turned into a lot of teaching from people that talked from the law of abundance, the law of attraction, and really about our ability to be spirits and add value to each and every day that we are on this earth. I meditate twice a day. I do visualizations. I have a gratitude journal. And I know I've seen commercials like, I just did my gratitude journal for like some insurance company. I'm like, I don't care. It works. And so that would probably be the biggest thing for me. One of my later business coaches kind of introduced me to this world. And I am a girl from Northeast Philly. And that is woo-woo. And that is junk in my mind. And it is not. It works. So that has been pretty much for the last 3 years what's changed me as a business owner, as a mom. Because if you're doing everything every day to make this earth a better place, people are going to feel it and have that agenda.
Law of attraction, law of abundance. We can all have that if we just open our hearts up. And then you find good people. And it's like, this is one of the reasons, honestly, why I started Do, Donna, because I was in a company that was about leadership and personal development. And I didn't even know half of that. I was like, wow, I get to actually do something for myself and it's good for me and for the people around me, right? It just felt somehow selfish. Like I really don't need to go down that path, but you realize that that path is a beautiful journey to bring out the best in you so you can bring out the best in others. And that journey never ends now. Once you get on that path, it's a forever path, isn't it?
Oh, and I love seeing your face light up when you're talking about it. Like, because it is, right?
Yeah,
It does. It brings so much value to the why behind the business, the love to bring back into financial planning. It comes from me. It comes from the people that are on my team. They share that same core value. And it's not even talked about all the time. It's shown in action.
Yeah.
I love it.
Action is everything, really. I think you can talk, but it's how you live your life and how you open the door and the people that you surround yourself with in your business, which is beautiful. And you exude that as well. So just beautiful. And life is hard. And we're not finished with the hard things. But when you can get through some of the big things and then get on the other side of it and be able to share that with others. I mean, the gift that you can give to women, I know that you, widowhood, transition, divorce, blended families, you've walked those walks. And that's so valuable to be able to help others and to do it with love first. And you don't really hear that very often in financial planning. We even say this with dental offices, Donna. If your business is sound, you can provide the kind of dentistry that you want that is good. It's the same thing with your household. I mean, if you've got that monkey off your back and you've got the security that you've done the right things and you've lived within your means and you've saved enough, you can say yes instead of no. Then we're in our 80s and you look back, you're like, well, dang, it's never too late to start that journey and it's never too early.
Agreed. Enjoy each day of the journey.
You're so lovely. And your hubby's lucky and your kids are lucky to have you at the helm of that beautiful family. How does our audience get in touch with you? We'll have it in the show notes, but tell us how we get in touch with you, get to know you a little bit better. And I'm sure you can help us with our finances. Because, we talk about this a lot in our community. Women do put their heads in the sand. We don't want to know. We're like, la, 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 because it's hard to understand it sometimes and it's scary. But once you get that plan, then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it's not near as bad as I thought it was. I'm going to be okay. Right.
I agree with that. Yeah. And so much of it too is like for couples, right? So yeah, I have families in transition, right? naturally, I've gotten referred back to couples who are really trying to open some transparency in their relationship. They might not be a blended family, but their kids are about to graduate college and they're looking back at one another being like, hun, what do we do? They've got a majority of the mortgage paid off. The kids are educated. Like, what now? And they have to find a new way to talk about these future dreams and how do we afford them? So we talk a lot about the transparency in conversations between couples because, again, one of us is probably running the daily bills and one of us is probably running the bigger picture. The two both have to at least communicate on a quarterly basis. So I bring that up because to get in touch with me, you can watch Jim and I now have a podcast together on YouTube, and it is called Wisdom and Wealth. And it's about having these conversations as couples. So he has seen me while I was a widow. We were not dating. It was like a separate, we just knew one another for years. He saw me go back to school. He saw me create my business. And then we got together as a couple. So who better to sit and have this conversation about money and business? And we look at it very differently, right? So you have like a carpenter's point of view and a financial advisor's point of view. So that's called the Wisdom and Wealth. And that's a great podcast. You can follow me on social media at Sephton Financial or get onto my website and find out more about us. Our stories are there, links to all the social media. And that's Sephton, Sephton, financial.com.
Thank you very much for that. But also tell me about the book that's coming out. It's your second book, I think, right? Is it your second book? Okay, so tell us about that because we want to hear about it. We want to get it off on Amazon and get you to the top percentage of authors in the country.
Oh, Anne, thank you so much for bringing that up because I'm like, unless you follow social media, you don't know.
Yeah.
So my first book was A Guide to Widowhood, navigating the first 3 years with your heart, soul, and finances intact. And now we're having a series. So the second part is going to be the blended family. And we're going to be talking about the transitions of the blend and finances, the topic of mine, yours, ours, theirs.
Oh,
what is it all? How do we do this with two adults with a lot of history in the background from our own experience as well as my experience from a financial advisor? So we are really excited for that. It's probably going to be coming out this fall, and you can follow along on social media for all of those launches. And I would appreciate anyone's support when we come to launch that book out. So we're going to relaunch The Widow and Wisdom, A Guide to Widowhood, and then we're going to move back to our Clarity for Blended Families.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely beautiful. I have so many people, including myself, that will be looking for that when it launches, and we'd love to help you with that. So you've been delightful. I'm so glad that we got to reconnect. Thank you so much for your time today. And all of you that are listening today, just remember, most importantly, to keep doing you. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you the next time. Bye, everybody. Bye, Donna. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much, Anne.
Thank you for listening to the Just Do It podcast, hosted by Ann Duffy. To learn more about dental entrepreneur women, to share your story, or to join the movement, please visit our website, do.life. That is DEW.life. Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app to make sure you don't miss an episode. And in the meantime, keep doing you.